Most managers are poor coaches. Don't get me wrong, they can be lovely people, they can achieve great results, their team can respect them, and yet they never release the full potential that exists within the people in their team. And that is because they underuse the skill set of coaching. In this video, I'm going to share with you 6 powerful coaching questions that if you were to use consistently with your team would empower them, help them find solutions for themselves, and they will love it because they will achieve their own personal development that much quicker. I'm going to cover why these 6 questions are so powerful, what they are, when to use them, and then at the end I will share what to do when you're coaching someone and they say something that you don't expect. Okay, without further ado, let's jump in. Recently, I was running a workshop for managers on coaching skills, and it was a 2-day workshop. On the second day, it was an opportunity really to get your hands dirty and have a go and practice several times. And after each practice, we would do a review of what went well and what they thought they needed to do better. Now, what became very evident from the very first practice session was how quickly they jumped into tell mode, telling the person what they thought they should do, and how hard they were finding it to hold back and ask questions. And it really prompted a great debate about expertise and sharing expertise and empowering your team. And there was recognition at the end of the power of holding back and using questions in your toolbox to help the person learn for themselves. I think there are 2 main reasons. One, expertise. You have loads of expertise and you want to share it. You want to help, and it all comes from a really good place. The second thing is time. We're all time pressured, but I think in the busy day-to-day, managers can quickly resort to, I'll just tell them the answer and they can just get on and do it because I don't have enough time to coach properly right now. And that's where these 6 questions I think can really help you, because rather than thinking of, I am having a coaching conversation and I must stop, I think it's looking at questions that are familiar, that you can put in your toolbox and reach for quickly and use in many different situations. So you're developing a coaching style as much as having bespoke coaching conversations. And that's what these 6 questions are all about. So what are these 6 questions that I would like you to have as familiar tools in your coaching toolbox? The first one is when you're either delegating work and giving a person a goal, or when they come to you with a problem or a challenge that they're working on. And the question is, what does success look like for you in this situation? The power of this question is that it helps the person think through and bring clarity to what it is they need to achieve. What they're doing really is describing a good job well done, which is what you want. And the benefit you have is that you're going to have time to assess, have they already got it? In which case, tick, on you go. Or actually, is their thinking slightly off and they need a bit of guidance to reframe that goal into what you would describe as a good job well done. So a great one to use when either delegating or when defining goals and objectives. The second question is a brilliant one for helping the person broaden out their thinking and for you to check to understand that their thinking is broad and they've understood any issue appropriately. And the question is, what do you see as the biggest challenge here? This is particularly useful when an issue is brought and it could be a symptom of a much bigger issue, or it could be the absolute root cause of it. It's a great way of helping the person to think through, to identify that. Am I looking at a symptom or am I looking at a root cause of a problem? If you agree and you think the situation is the same, you know that that person is well placed to get on and solve it. The third question is when somebody in your team comes along, they tell you about a situation, they explain the issue, they may even have a proposal of what they should do, but you have a slight concern that their thinking is a little narrow, that they might have missed something. And the question to ask is, what is an alternative perspective on this issue? What it will do is broaden out thinking, because it makes the person stop and go, oh, have I missed something? And you'll know whether they have or haven't missed something. And you may have something in mind that you think they have missed. This is important because in that workshop I was talking about, what we recognized when we were doing the coaching is there were certain trigger points where the managers had a tendency to jump into tell mode, and this was one of them. They didn't quite understand, there's so much more, let me tell them. But in doing so, they take the accountability and the initiative off the person to come up with a solution themselves and start telling them what they think they should do. But this question, is there an alternative perspective, allows the person to think more broadly, allows you to assess, yeah, they've now thought about the other things, and it will give you both confidence as you get to the bit where, well, what are we going to do about that issue? The fourth question is a useful one to use when you think a person might be a bit hesitant about following a course of action. You may just sense it in their body language, or they may be telling you. And the question to ask is, what is preventing you from moving forward? The answer of this could be actually an issue of skill. I don't know how to do it. Or it could be an issue of will, maybe confidence to do it. But it's a useful question in helping someone realize work out for themselves, what's the first thing I need to do, especially if they're a little bit apprehensive about doing it. This question allows you in response to work out what you need to do in order to help them move forward. So is it an issue of confidence, in which case you could be reassuring and supportive and just encourage them? Or is it an issue that actually the issue is a bit deeper and they're going to need some training or some help in order to do that? Again, in the workshop, this was one of the other trigger points. We recognized that the person's a bit hesitant, so we just jump in. Asking this question about what's preventing them moving forward allows you to hold back on jumping to solution and telling them what they should do. The fifth question is useful when you're working with your team and there are lots of things to do. It can be quite overwhelming when an action plan is quite big. What you want to be able to do is help the person prioritize. So the question would be, what's the most important thing to focus on right now? It helps people break down big action plans into smaller, more manageable chunks that they feel much more confident taking on. It stops the overwhelm, puts things in order for people, and calms nerves when plans are big or can feel overwhelming. Really valuable question. And lastly, question 6. Now, this is one that is going to save you a lot of time. The question is, how can I support you? So thinking back to that workshop, one of the triggers that the managers recognized that they were jumping in on was they were becoming too involved. They were more or less organizing the action plan at the end and working out where they needed to be involved, as opposed to asking the person what support did they need. And that meant that the person maintains accountability and you gain clarity on the help that they need and the type of help that they need, which can vary. So you will find this is a big time saver, because that clarity will let you know where you are involved or where you're not. And it's the ambiguity that often means that you keep getting involved even when you don't need to. So there you go, 6 questions. I'm going to put them up on the screen so that you can screenshot them. They are: what does success look like for you in this situation? What do you see as the biggest challenge here? What's an alternative perspective on this issue? What is preventing you from moving forward? What's the most important thing to focus on right now? And 6, how can I best support you? The way to get going with these questions is, if you've screenshot them, just put them in your notebook and start to use them as often as you can in every situation. The key with communication skills, little and often. I call it micro practice moments, and these are just 6 questions that you can have in your easy access toolbox repertoire of questions that you can keep in front of you until you build that muscle memory. And the more you build that muscle memory, the more you will use those questions and will help you accelerate your coaching style. Now, I said at the beginning, there was also a tip for when somebody may say something that you don't expect. This was the fourth most common situation where the managers on my workshop said, yeah, I jump back in. And because it isn't something they expect, they leap into trying to solve that problem. Here's the tips for what to do if that happens. The first is keep a curious and open mindset. You do not need to know the answer. You need to be able to ask questions that helps the person find the answer. That is the key of coaching. So it doesn't really matter if you don't know the answer to this. The starting point would be to ask more questions and dig down into more detail. Using a phrase like, tell me more about that, is a good starting statement. And then using those nice open questions, how, what, where, why, when, to dig down and find out more information. And then the power of a summary. When you've listened, summarize back what you've heard and see if you can frame what they have said clearly and simply. And then ask, is that how you see it? Because this will make sure you're both on the same page and have understood the situation the same and stop you jumping into solving it. Once you're both on the same page, you're in a powerful position there in coaching to guide the conversation to resolving the topic. The action from this video is have a go, start trying them out. If you have any questions at all, please put them in the comments below. You know I am around to answer them and I'm more than willing to help you. I said earlier that coaching is an absolutely critical skill for managers to master. And this video here describes a coaching framework called GROW that if you use will give structure to your coaching conversations, and there are lots of extra questions in there that you can use. So this is where I'd go next if you are looking to accelerate your coaching skills. Either way, thank you for watching and I will see you next time. Take care.